Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. One thing that I haven't dug into as much, and I did do some videos on annotations and PDFs and a little bit of a reference to star marking here and there. The use case for me just isn't there. It is for cataloging and on the back end when it comes to using the headers and then combining into larger PDFs. But in this video, we're going to look a little bit at the global search feature, and we're going to look at specifically how the star marking system can be used along with keywords in that global search. And then the last thing is going to be the handwriting recognition and how that is globally searchable. This came out directly as a result of, and I joke with Roderick about this, it rants about tech quite a bit, that every time I see him do something on another device or with the Supernote or run into a frustration, I go back and I think, hey, can I do that on the Supernote? Can I do that on that device? And sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes it's not. One good example of where it's not is I thought that the no load shutdown was similar to what Boox has. It's called a transparent screensaver. So basically, it allows you to keep your last note open, and no load shutdown does a similar thing to that, but it doesn't work the way that Roderick uses it on the Books platform. So it's constantly a learning experience. Can I do this on my device? Is this something I want to do on my device? So I try it out and I go different ways with it so that we can try and learn as a community and as a group. Very similar conversation during one of Kit Betzmaster's live streams. I asked him what layer blending was because, quite frankly, I'm not an artist. And when he had mentioned layer blending, I thought blending meant being able to collapse layers. Intuitively, as a non artist, that's where my mind went. But then he started talking about changing the opacity of those layers and making the shading different and doing all of these other things, being able to make them complement one another in a different way. So my point on that is that it's really important for us as a community to recognize that just because I see something differently in a device or just because somebody else does something on another platform doesn't mean it can't be replicated or done on any of the others. And in some cases, it may not be necessary, needed, or even wanted on those platforms. So with that, let's jump into the video. A little bit longer intro than I wanted, but I will see you in just a second. All right, so here we are with, of course, my A5X. Again, most of you know that I am a big proponent of the A5X, primarily because of the size. I think when the A4X2 Slim, I think they're calling it, or the A4 Slim, when that comes out, I'm pretty sure that's going to be my go-to. The A5X2 I will definitely review if Rada is kind enough to send me a review unit. But at the same time, this is kind of the smallest I think you can really be effective at looking at PDFs in. And for me, it's just the most comfortable to write on. It doesn't mean it's not possible to use the A6X2 for different components, but for me, this is the most comfortable writing experience and the easiest form factor for me to use for those different tasks. But anyway, that's another discussion for another time. But what I do want to talk about is something that I saw Roderick do with the Go 10.3, and I thought it would be really interesting, and I even did this on lunch, to figure out what can we do on the Supernote platform that is similar. And one thing that Roderick talked about was keywords and using those as headers. And I use the headers in every notebook I create. Primarily, I use those as a tool to be able to later combine my notes and then have that table of contents. For example, and here's something that I did just to kind of play around, like I mentioned before, on lunch after I saw Roderick's video, which was very well done, and I will have that link down in the description below. But I wanted to play around with star marks, keywords, and with headings. The reason this interested me is because the headings in the Supernote serve a very specific purpose. They are contained within your note. And so for me, it's very important to use them in that manner because later when I go to combine notes, and one way you can do that, you can control your pages. And basically, if I wanted to copy these into another note, I would just select copy here, go into that other note and paste them anywhere in that note. In between pages, before pages, after pages, doesn't matter. And then these headers and these star marks would all transfer to that new note. And I think that's a really powerful tool. And for me, it makes a lot of sense because a lot of times what I do is the redundancy piece of me is I take individual notes on individual meetings, all with a heading. And then that heading gets later on when I go to archive rolled up into this one big master note. So that's the function of the header within Supernote. It's not really meant to be searchable because if you keep your heading consistent with your note name, that's searchable another way. But it's very consistent within the note because then your headings are here and you have that quick table of contents that you can then jump from one to the other. And if you have a large note, this could be very long and you would be able to just easily navigate throughout your notebook. So that's the heading function. And I think the frustration that I gathered from Roderick at Rants About Tech was that Boox didn't really have that. And even though he found a workaround, which I think is ingenious, really, which was their keyword function, it's still not the same as the heading function. It works similarly. You can go to these pages, you can do different things, but it's not quite as elegant in my personal view. However, the keyword function in the Supernote serves a little bit of a different functionality and more along the lines of what Roderick was talking about. And what I've done here is I've turned these into keywords. If I go to my keywords, go back in here, and of course there are keywords, and you'll see that I have keywords here that pop right up. So I can easily see those, and those are automatically converted to text when you make a keyword. So if I go here and I put, let's say I want to create a new, and pardon my writing because I'm writing straight, which is very hard for me to do. And now I circle that and I go to the K. It's going to recognize that text and you'll see it actually got it right, even though my handwriting was awful. And I'm going to add that keyword. Now it tells me that keyword is on page 2. So again, I can go back over here. I can go back into here. I'm by keyword, and you can see there are all my keywords in this note. Same is true of the stars. So what you'll see is there were 2 different star marks on here. So on page 1, I put a star, 2 stars actually, and you can see there are, no matter what size you draw them, they're still going to be there. So if you draw it really tiny, if you draw it really tiny, you'll get a star. If you draw it big like this one, or mid-sized, as long as it can recognize that you drew a star, it's going to show up on the page. And the nice thing about that, and Jeffrey Moss does a great job of talking about how he uses this as kind of his to-do list function, which the Supernote now has a to-do list, but I can see the functionality of using the star marking system the same way. So again, now you'll see that this tells you what pages your stars are on, tells you what pages your keywords are on. You can also sort your keywords by page. So it'll tell you which keyword is on which page here, or you can sort by keyword. And then you have your headings. a little bit different structure than the Boox platform was, and the keywords still do that kind of a similar function as well, but it gives you more choice, more agency to do what you want to do here. One thing that I didn't see, and it'd be interesting, maybe Roderick can correct me if I'm wrong here, I didn't see a global search. And one thing to be really clear about here is that keywords and stars don't just exist in notes. It appeared from the video on the Boox device that those only appeared in the note-taking experience. In the Supernote, PDFs can be used for both keywords and star marks as well. Now, you can't put headings unless you convert it to a note, and that's a video for another time, and I may link my previous video below on that. But what's interesting is if I swipe down from the top here and I go to search, now from here, I can search any document type I want, and we're going to search all formats, but you'll notice there's PDF, there's EPUBs, all different things. And when you go to this file drop down, you can search by file name, you can search by keyword, or you can search by star. And here in a minute, we're also going to get to handwriting. But right now, let's focus on the keyword and star. Now let's do keyword first. And now I want to go ahead and let's do new keyword since we just did that one. So new keyword popped in there and I can hit search. And this does usually take a while, but here it didn't. It came up pretty quickly, I think because there's only one of them. But you can look at this way. It tells you what note it's from. You can also set it by page, so it'll tell you what page it came from. So just that quick toggle. So there's name and there's the page. You can also look at it this way, and it will tell you again the name of the keynote and the name of the note right there. And you can still do the page view. So it's very interesting the way that they set this up. So if you're looking for a lot of keywords, you can do it. And again, that was a third view. So you can do it in the list or the page. So when you go from list to a little bitty thumbnail to a larger thumbnail, now you can actually see a preview of the page that you're looking for. And you'll see all of my different notes there. And you'll also, it's interesting to see here, it shows you if it's a handwriting recognition note, which is this little piece here. So that's how the keywords work. Now, what's also cool is if we take that out and we just hit search again, it's going to show me all of my keywords. Again, when we go here, you're going to see all of these different keywords pop up in these different formats. So it's really cool. It's a really great and functional tool. And let's say we did want to go by EPUB. Now what you'll notice here is that I did a star mark on A Christmas Carol. Let's just go ahead and we'll pop in there real quick and you'll be able to see it. So this right here, one of my favorite books that I wrote, is a keyword. So it's almost like that title function that I was talking about earlier, but you could have also made Marley's Ghost an actual written word here. So let's say you wanted to get here without scanning the text, but you wanted to tag it, you could have put Marley's Ghost. And then you go ahead and circle that. Make it a keyword. Marley's Ghost and add. It says it's on page 12. Now when I go back to that global search, And I want to put in Marley's Ghost. And hit keyword search. Now it's going to come up again. All because it recognizes that keyword in an EPUB. So kind of cool the way this functionality is set up to work with keywords across the Supernote platform. And that also falls into the idea of the star marks. So let's say here that I was really interested, and let's go to a different page. Well, matter of fact, I've already done that. So we star marked this page. So let's star mark this one as well. Say we thought all of those were important. Go back to that global search. Change this over to star. And then again, what's cool about this is if I just want to search for all of my stars, I can just hit enter, click the magnifying glass, and I will see all of my stars. All of that pops up, every single star I have. You'll notice I don't have a ton of them because, again, it's not a system I've fully adopted, but I'm having second thoughts about that and whether I should. And that's, again, where you can go to the pages and kind of see a preview. And here is A Christmas Carol right here. I'll go here, and there you go. There is your star mark. And if I go back to the search, and now let's say I only want to go by EPUBs, and hit search, there you go again. And you're back to that page. And then the last thing that I want to show really quickly, and I think it's just because it's something the Supernote does in real time and it's called the real-time recognition notes, and it's for handwriting. And I think it's just a genius move for the way they do this conversion is that they don't wait to convert after the fact. Yes, you can use keywords, and I think keywords are a great way to handle this. But there's also this idea of being able to just in real time recognize the text in the background and then make that globally searchable throughout. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. This does not happen in the PDFs. So don't think that when you're writing in a PDF that it's going to be searchable natively because you're writing there. You can convert a PDF into a note file, and if you do that, if you use it as a template, then you can globally search. But any note that you have, if you use the real-time recognition note, becomes searchable. So if we go into that search function again, and then we pick handwriting, and then let's just pick test 2. So test 2. That comes up, and we so there we go. And so it found that actual note where we had, it was only one result, so it had to go through all of those things, all of the different notes that I've taken for a long time. And it was a specific thing that was only written that way once. Kind of surprised it didn't pick up the test or other pieces. But again, there it is. So it gave you, and I can press on that, and it even highlights it for you to say, okay, you're on this page, and see, there's where it did. So it picked it up twice. You'll notice it picked it up here in the header, and it darkened that, and it picked it up here. Now, I am surprised that it didn't pick up test anywhere else because I know I've written that word more than once. As a matter of fact, there it is. But it didn't pick either of those up. So it may be that depending on how you write it, or if it's enough of a string of characters, that it will be very specific. The other day when I did it, like for the word testing, because there was no space in between test and ing and testing, it picked up both words. So maybe the spaces help you to be able to pick up strings of words in a specific way. That's worth some further testing, but I just thought it would be interesting to let you know that. Let's jump back over and recap. Welcome back, and thank you for sticking in there with me. I know that this was a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be when I first started filming, but it was worth it to go through some of these features and functions. And one thing that I love about this community, as far as the whole e-ink space and the different creators I've met along the way, is that I'm constantly being pushed. And I mentioned that at the outset, but pushed in a good way, to reevaluate, to think through, what am I doing? How am I doing it? What are the benefits that I'm realizing? And what are the functions I haven't even thought of yet? Or what are the things that maybe would benefit me? I can see a little bit more clearly now after watching Jeffrey Moss, after watching Roderick at Rants About Tech, that the star marking system, but especially the keyword system, in combination with not only in notes, but in PDFs, EPUBs. You saw in those files, CBiz. So there are a lot of different things you could use this functionality in to, maybe it's a comic or a graphic novel. I don't really read a lot of graphic novels, but I've kind of followed Kit's reading journey this year, and I've thought, well, maybe that might be something I could get interested in. And so those are the kinds of things that it gets me thinking, it gets me moving in a different headspace. But from a strictly productivity standpoint, this is genius because of the fact that you can keyword. If you're marking up a paper, if you're marking up a document, if you pull a web page in as an image and convert it to a PDF, you can mark that up and add keywords to it. There are so many things you can do with this technology that are really, really cool and interesting. And again, it takes you out of just staring at an LCD screen or trying to do all that by clicking with a mouse or moving your cursor around. And, you can write, you can be natural, you can circle things, you can add notes, you can add keywords, you can add stars, you can add just handwritten text in a note that is then searchable by the system, albeit slow on a second generation device when they're already on their third generation. But it's only going to get better over time. So thank you again for hanging in there. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for all of your support. Click like, subscribe, add your comments, add your voice to this community. I enjoy hearing from you all so much. And if there's something I'm missing or I'm still not doing right, tell me, because again, I'm on this productivity journey. I'm trying to get these things done as quickly as possible. And as someone who's managing a ton of things right now and working in large groups and small groups, and it's just, there's a lot of data and a lot of meetings and a lot of different balls in the air. The more productive and targeted and strategic I can be, the better off I'll be in the end, and the more productive and streamlined I'll be to be able to get the things done I want to do, which includes making more videos. So thank you again. I will talk to you soon. Until next time, have a great one.